Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris behind the scenes for today's live show, which is led by the fan-led mock draft. Now, you can make your arguments and convince people to vote by typing in the player initials in the comment section for the round one pick. AM for Amarius Mims, JPJ for Jackson Powers Johnson, JN for Johnny Newton, and TG for Tyler Guyton. Now, what matters the most here, though, is that you vote in the pinned poll. That is how we will put everything together and track the votes, which we'll get into in a little bit. Super chat abilities to help rig the election a little bit more in your favor. Now, I am using the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. We are at the behest of how the mock draft simulator goes. Sometimes things go great. Sometimes things don't go so great. Now, in this case, Graham Barton was picked one pick before the Cowboys were on the clock. So your options are Mims, Jackson Powers Johnson, Johnny Newton got the nod over Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry and maybe a wide receiver. Maybe I should have gone with the receiver instead because no one's voting for Newton. I'm not surprised by that, though, because I thought most of the votes would come in for Amarius Mims and for Johnny Newton. Now, this is how things will go in terms of Super Chats being able to impact the results. If you specify a player for less than $5, you get 2 extra votes in addition to whatever you vote in the poll. So you're kind of 3-for-1ing it, basically. $5 is 10 extra votes. Now, I have set up a little Excel spreadsheet here that allows me to, without having to do it on the fly like we did in previous years, now I can just plug in the votes and it'll instantly calculate it. I've used my Excel skills to advantage there. $10 is 30 votes. $20 is 75 votes, which there's 122 right now. So you can drastically impact the outcome there. Or, because people have done this before, I'm going to raise the figure from previous years. $100, you can make the pick yourself. I don't think anyone's going to do it. That's fine. It's just a fun way because we do all the Super Chat stuff anyway. And I remember the one year there were about $100 people voting for a kicker, which was absolutely wild to me. We have a $5 Super Chat here from We Don't Wife These 304s. Gruden now coaches the Milano Seamen. He does, by the way. He does coach them. You, Craig Carton, Dan Cilio, Antonio Brown, Chris Sims, and Donald Trump are my heroes. CTESPN, hashtag stop the steal. Here are the current options for the round one pick today. Jackson Powers Johnson, 50%, leading the way with 127 votes at this time, knowing these will consistently change. Amarius Mims is at 36%. Now, changed. 49% now for Jackson Powers Johnson. Mims at 37, JPJ at 49, Johnny Newton is at 2%, and Tyler Guyton is at 12%. So I'm not overly surprised by these votes. For percentage point perspective here in terms of how things are different at this time, you're looking at really plugging in the numbers here, a 16-point difference or vote difference right now. It is early in the show. We will give plenty of extra time for the round one votes to come in. We won't move on from the round one pick until after the first segment here on today's show. So you can vote, and if you want to push and make an argument for somebody in the comments, feel free to do so as well. Obviously, we're limited to having 4 options. I would have loved to have also thrown in, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Morgan, Cooper DeJean is part of it all, but it's just not quite a very feasible outcome in the end. So get your votes in the comments section and in the pin poll. We don't wife these 304s. If you would like to specify a first-round pick, feel free. You can just do that in the normal comment section as opposed to the another Super Chat there. But you can rig the election for the fan-led mock draft because I think it can often get crazy and fun when that stuff happens. Again, anything under $5. This goes like in your digital, whatever your normal Super Chat is, just throw in the player name too. Less than $5, 2 extra votes. $5 is 10 votes. $10 is 30 votes. 20 for 75. And we can stop the count immediately with a $100 super chat. So one more time, your 4 options so far, or not so far, but in today's round 1. Georgia offensive tackle, Amarius Mims, who I see Team Moore advocating for in the comments. Oregon center, Jackson Powers Johnson, that's JPJ. Johnny Newton out of Illinois, that's JN. And Tyler Guyton, the Oklahoma offensive tackle, TG. With 150 votes in so far, meaning not everybody in the comments has voted. There's more live audience than there are votes at this time. Amarius Mims at 39%. Jackson Powers Johnson at 48%. Johnny Newton has about 4 votes, but hey, I'm glad he got something for him. I felt bad for him for a little bit because there was a while early on before the live show, Mims was winning, and there was 0 votes for Newton, and I'm like, I feel really bad about that one. So if you haven't already, folks, do me a favor and like today's show. It's the fan-led mock draft day, first day of the Masters with guy I hate, Bryson DeChambeau, is now 7 under par, which I had a prize picks this week on, I think it was Jordan Spieth having more birdies than he did in round 1. Nope, not going to happen. No chance. Spieth ain't going to have 9 birdies, whatever it is, because DeChambeau had a bogey as well, so I hate that one from that perspective. So we are narrowly trailing the like battle this month against Giants now. I will make note, live show likes do help from that perspective. So help us out by liking today's video right now. Coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report, we will have Cowboys rumors for you here momentarily. A mailbag as well. 2 ways to get on the show. Hashtag Cowboys puts you in the queue. As Skip's asking why I hate Bryson, because the man's a dick. All right? I don't like him. And not a good personality at all. I've only heard negative things about him. Or Super Chat, skip the line altogether, but the hashtag Cowboys just gets you in the queue there altogether. We will run through the Mel Kiper latest 2-round mock draft. And we will take a look and break down the fan-led mock draft throughout today's live show. We'll have different chances to vote for each of the Cowboys' 7 picks this year. So get your votes at the pin poll, Super Chat if you so choose to rig the election for whoever you want. All coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by 8 Sleep. I've slept pretty well, but my wife has not. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover brings heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. More on them later on in today's show as we begin with more Micah Parsons. This one is very much a media fan-created angle, I think, more than anything. But as we broke down previously this week, there was the report that said, Micah's wearing thin on the Cowboys, which has immediately led to trade rumors around Micah, or at least other people hoping that they could get Micah Parsons away from Dallas. Again, this was the report from Sean Sharif over at 105.3 saying, quote, I've heard way too many people from way too many people this offseason. So at least 4 different people have told me that Micah has worn thin there. I don't know how much is true and how much it actually hurts his reputation. I don't know whether it's typical behavior of a superstar. I don't know how damaging it is. But I do know this. I've heard from way too many people that if Micah Parsons was out of there, there would be a decent amount of people inside the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco smiling or breathing a sigh of relief. Again, we're not going to go too far into the credibility of it because we talked about that before. We'll focus more on some of the other ideas spun out there. I do believe, though, this is not people who matter. These are not your coaches. These are not your players. These are not your front office members. These are ancillary members of the Cowboys organization, not those who are actually in a decision-making capability power area. No surprise, though, this has then been spun into a possible Micah Parsons trade idea. Now, I would argue that is just the hopes and dreams of other teams and fan bases that, hey, we'd love to get one of the most productive pass rushers we've ever seen through the first 3 years of their career. Because they'd love to acquire that player. You don't find that level of sack production very easily. Even some of the current greats haven't put up that level of production we've seen from Micah Parsons in his first 3 years. That's not to say he doesn't get any playoff blame. He does. Everyone on this organization gets it. But sacks in their first 3 years, it's Hall of Famer, on a Hall of Fame pace for all the off-the-field stuff got in his way. Micah Parsons, Hall of Famer. That's a pretty good football player, man. I think your hypothetical minimum trade value is something similar to that Khalil Mack, Jalen Ramsey trade, maybe even a touch more, which was 2 firsts, an additional pick around a 4th rounder, and I would argue more. I would argue there's a better chance of, if the Cowboys did do it, I don't think they will, nor should they as far as I'm concerned, that they'd be able to get a little bit more. If they could actually do the trade properly, they have not been very good trade partners in the past. So what do you think? And you can be honest with me, please, and thank you. What's the % chance the Cowboys end up trading away Micah Parsons? It is the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I will take the lower percentage. I don't foresee the Cowboys going down this path. Now, I know that maybe some kind of continuing this conversation, the Josh Allen contract, right? The 5 years, $150 million deal. I saw that as like, oh, Micah just made more money. Hot take? I don't know if it's a hot take. He actually didn't. I don't believe the Josh Allen contract has any real impact on Micah Parsons' future earnings because he's already going to get more than that. Josh Allen is now the 2nd highest paid edge rusher behind only Nick Bosa. He is now the 3rd highest paid edge rusher, that was per year, in terms of guaranteed contract money. Well, guess what? Micah's going to beat Bosa. We already knew that going in. We knew that the day Nick Bosa got paid, as long as Micah doesn't suddenly get terrible, he hasn't, the reality is he is going to be the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. That's fine. It's going to be expensive. I know that, and there will be understandable sticker shock as part of this. The salary cap, though, will continue to rise. You will be able to structure the deal properly and allow yourself to backload the hell out of it when the cap continues to jump and jump and jump. By the way, other teams have shown you can do this. The Niners made Debo one of the highest paid players at his position. They made Nick Bosa, George Kittle the highest paid players at their position. The Browns have paid Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, Deshaun Watson, and even more, including the receiver you didn't want anymore, big-time money. It is absolutely doable. The sticker shock is real, but you can afford to do it with, frankly, not as many concerns as some might try to convince you of. Today's show is made possible by 8 Sleep, the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. The 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress like a fitted sheet does and brings heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. Sleep science shows that in order to sleep our best, our body temperature needs to drop in the early and middle part of sleep and then rise in the morning. The 8 Sleep Pod cover automatically adjusts your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. It allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. Plus, in addition to keeping your body temperature all night long, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. Go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Start the new year right and invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Moving now to the NFL Draft. Some running back targets being linked to Dallas again. First up is Audric Estime, the Cowboys, listed as the best landing spot for Estime by Bleacher Report. And then Pro Football Focus kind of flipping it, saying that the best day 3 draft target for the Cowboys was Wisconsin running back Braylon Allen. Both players, by the way, Dallas has shown at least some level of pre-draft interest in. The surprise, I would argue, a few people, because boy, do they need a running back. Rico Dowdle is the incumbent RB1. His contract isn't even fully guaranteed. in terms of where things, like it's like a $200,000 guarantee. They could cut him. He's not even guaranteed a roster spot. Nobody is. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, Hunter Lipke, Snoop Connor, all those guys are fighting for a roster spot. None of them, I think, any of us would have great confidence in being the lead guy. So pick a running back. AE for Audric Estime, BA for Braylon Allen. If you had to pick one of those guys, no write-in votes allowed for Brooks or Benson or whoever, sound off for me in the comment section right now. Both runners fit fairly similar archetypes as players. They are bigger backs. Audric Estime had 210 carries last year after just falling short of 1,000 yards in 2022. Big power runner. The speed's a question mark. Braylon Allen, big power runner, was better in previous years for Wisconsin. The scheme change the Badgers made this year, I don't think was a beneficial thing for Braylon Allen, but he still averaged 5.4 yards per carry. He just wasn't featured as much because of the Wisconsin offensive style. Now, Estime had a pretty rough combine, in large part because of a 4.71 40-yard dash. He's bigger than most backs at 5'11 and 3/8 inches. 23 bench press reps as well. Good vert, good short explosion numbers, but the 40-yard dash just wasn't very good. I will make note, he did run a 4.61 at his pro day. Now, sometimes those numbers are a little, they don't always buy him quite as much, whatever. But that is noteworthy in terms of what he ran there. Of note, Braylon Allen did not test, which seems significant because he probably wouldn't have tested that great either. Help us reach our next goal of 186,500 subscribers. We are 7 subs away. We should be able to get there today or else. Hit that sub button right now. One more NFL draft rumor out there is from Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, who says the Cowboys are high on Peyton Wilson, which wouldn't be a surprise given their love of injured linebackers over their career, and the fact that he is a pre-draft 30 visit for Dallas. Here's what Feldman wrote in his mock draft, kind of buried away behind the in his mock draft, kind of buried behind the other notes about it. It's kind of stuffed in there later. One of the most intriguing players in this draft is NC State's Peyton Wilson, who was the best defensive player in the ACC, but he has a medical history that I'm told is some NFL teams reluctant to draft him, despite his physicality, size, and tremendous speed. He's been injury-free the past 2 years, which is only partially true. He actually did miss some time in 2022. I hear the Cowboys and Lions really like him. I love the player. The player is consistently around the ball, consistently impactful, constantly making impact splash plays. Everything you want athletically in a linebacker. The downside is he is 24 years old and has a lengthy injury history. Double-digit surgeries in total, sometimes multiple surgeries on the same injury. The 2021 shoulder injury had some complications as part of it with an infection, by the way, which is very scary. Tore his right ACL twice, has had surgery on both shoulders, and an additional surgery in 2021. That is not a good thing, and it is a very real concern. So what round would you draft Peyton Wilson in? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. It would be a surprise if the Cowboys didn't draft a linebacker this year. They have Eric Kendricks, they have DeMarvion Overshown, Damone Clark, and then Buddy Johnson. That is it from that perspective. So they will need to add some more help. Even if it's later round help, they have to do something at that spot. All right, some round one pick. This is the last call to get your votes or super chats in for the round one pick of today's fan-led Cowboys mock draft. It is a narrow race right now between Amarius Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock here right now, and then we will end voting, and no more super chats will be eligible to come in either. We do have this one from Ecuador Man AOG, says nothing against JPJ, but center has more depth, I think you mean than tackle. So Ecuador Man, please clarify if you want your super chat to go towards, just in the comments, if you don't have to super chat again, if you want that super chat to go to Amarius Mims, because it is a very narrow race at the moment with 236 votes in, Amarius Mims at 41%, Jackson Powers Johnson at 46%. We're talking a difference here of less than about 12 votes. A 12-vote difference between Amarius Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson, with Tyler Guyton and Johnny Newton kind of not really in the conversation here at all. So, last call if you want to override. He says it doesn't Mims. So you do want it for Mims then, Ecuador man? Anyway, last call. You got about 50 seconds here for the votes in the pin poll and super chats to decide the election. Ecuador man said AM. So I think he does want Amarius Mims. That's what that tells me. So we will count the super chat there for Amarius Mims. The extra bonus from the $2 super chat there that's 2 extra votes. That's not going to be enough to overtake the status right now between Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson. It's a 13-person vote difference right now with 10 seconds to go, and then we will end it for Amarius Mims and Jackson Powers Johnson. JPJ is set to hold on here. We'll give it another 10 seconds. 256 votes in today's show, and it's going to be a Jackson Powers Johnson's actually pulling away even more at the moment. It will be Jackson Powers Johnson who wins the fan-led mock draft. So we'll end that one. I will run the sim, and we'll head to round 2 here, by the way, for Jackson Powers Johnson, the pick here in round 1. Producer Chris will build that listicle here. We will skip ahead to the second round momentarily in this mock draft. If this sim will continue, it's a little bit frozen at the moment. It'll be okay. So Jackson Powers Johnson is the pick here in round 1. Now, there are medical concerns at this moment with Jackson Powers Johnson. Shoulder has been a red flag previously. Hamstring has been a red flag as well, which is a concern, people. Hip is a problem. That's something that has to be vetted there. Talent-wise, tough to not say that Jackson Powers Johnson isn't one of the best players in this year's class. There's a lot of talent from that perspective, and the overall ability he offers is highly, highly intriguing. We'll get to the super chats here from Ecuador Man and Mark momentarily. But this is one of the more impactful players in this year's NFL draft. Boy, tell you what, I feel bad the way this went down. I'm not going to put him in there because there's no benefit to doing it this way. Unfortunately, Zach Frazier is on the board still in round 2. So I'm going to put some of the top players here in the new polls. Stand by here momentarily. Fan-led mock draft, round 2. We've got Trey Benson out of Florida State as one of the options in there. You can feel free to throw suggestions in the comments here while I organize this. Patrick Paul out of Houston, the tackle, is in there. He's an option. I am not going to do you guys dirty. I will not be putting Chris Jenkins as an option there. I'll put Malachi Corley in here. He is one of the top receivers left and someone that we know the Dallas Cowboys have interest in. And then, boy, the rest of these options are not great. Your next, Edgerrin Cooper is not on the board at linebacker. He is gone. Tavondre Sweat, he's not going to be a round 2 pick. We'll take him off the board there. Kingsley Sumataya is not there. He went off the board at 29. Wow, that's kind of shocking from that perspective. I can put in, of guys like make sense for Dallas, I can put in Peyton Wilson or Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks. And I kind of dislike both of those options if I'm being quite honest. So I'm gonna do this. I'm going to potentially regret this. I'm going to give it an option here for the running backs, Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks, because all the running backs, and I'm going to do this, best RB, or I'll put Peyton Wilson in there because he's the next best linebacker. Best tackles, Patrick Paul. You know, it's kind of thin after that. The next one on their board is the Yale kid who will be there in the third round for you probably. So I'm going to potentially regret this. What I'm doing is any running back, and then if the running backs win, we will do a second round of voting to pick a running back because there's a lot of them on the board. Every back is available. No backs have been taken. So I'll put the running back specifically as option one. Peyton Wilson, the NC State linebacker, will be option as an option 4 there, producer Chris, for you. Patrick Paul and Malachi Corley all are the other options. So I'm gonna update my spreadsheet here, and we will continue ahead on that front. Patrick Paul. If the running backs win, we will do a second one. And we'll do it after this upcoming Q&A section. And then we'll do a separate special election. We'll do a special election to pick your best available running back because all of them are available at this time. So that could certainly be an entertaining outcome there. Malachi Corley not getting very many results early on here, which, again, I can't say I'm overly surprised by. It happens. All right, and then Peyton Wilson. So let me input my numbers here. Okay, we are going to be good to go. Let me plug in 72 votes. Early voting percentages. Ooh, this is kind of it's a three-way race for the most part here. Running backs leading the way at 41% of the votes. No super chats, of course, at this time. Patrick Paul at 27% of the votes. No super chats yet. Malachi Corley has 7%. And Peyton Wilson has 27% of the votes. We've got 81 in there at this time, so plenty of time for things to continue to grow as we move forward. So, again, more on these players here. We have a super chat coming in already on the voting. Douglas Shepard has come screaming through with a $5 super chat. That, by the way, is worth an additional 10 votes for Peyton Wilson, and that will put him, let me run the numbers here on the voting, that will put him narrowly behind the running backs. So right now the running backs' total votes, including super chats, have 39. Peyton Wilson has 32. So very tight on that front. Keep that in mind. All the running backs are on the board here in the second round of today's fan-led mock draft. Patrick Paul is the developmental but talented, really gifted athletically, large arm, large frame, fits the Cowboys archetype, tackle from Houston. Remember, Jackson Powers Johnson was the first-round pick. Malachi Corley is the kind of gadget receiver from Western Kentucky. He played he's barely getting any votes, so not too impactful there. Peyton Wilson, I think, is the most talented linebacker in this year's class. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy very much. Now, we already had the $5 super chat from Douglas Shepard come in, which has led to 10 additional votes for Peyton Wilson, with the running backs at basically 43. Wilson at 25% of the vote now has 35 votes. Oh boy, Tiger. The Masters is on, by the way, and Tiger is way left on too. Has to hit it lefty, which is not a good sign for birdieing one. Here's how the mock draft super chats will go. Less than $5 super chats if you specify a player, 2 votes. $5, 10 additional votes for whatever player you took. $10 is 30 votes. 20 is 75. $100 will stop the count and give the win to whatever player you chose to take. We have some more super chats we'll get to here. I think let's save Marks and the center Ecuador man for the Q&A cut. But Ecuador man has done his super chat vote in favor of Patrick Paul. He says, sorry, no hurt running linebacker or back in the second. Paul is the man. It is going to be a very narrow race here. Updated results with 107 votes in. Running backs have 45 votes right now. Patrick Paul has 27. He's got 31 votes. Malachi Corley has 6 votes. Actually, probably 7. It's rounding up there, excuse me. Peyton Wilson has 37 votes as well. So it is a narrow race at this time here. Another one. Another $5 super chat from Douglas Shepard. That is now 20 additional votes for Peyton Wilson, who now narrowly takes the lead away from the running backs in today's voting. Says Wilson again, we can get a decent running back in the third. I would be inclined to agree. I think you also might be able to get a decent linebacker in the third with really only Edgerrin Cooper. That's the only guy I really like in terms of the health I trust on that perspective. So we will get to today's mailbag here momentarily. This is where the voting currently sits, with 116 votes in so far and some attempts to rig the election going on. The running backs have 49 votes at this stage. We got another super chat from We Don't Wife These 304s, says Brooks, i.e. the running back, says Florio is a cuckold. I don't know if I can say that out loud, but I'm going to do it anyway. So updated numbers then. Let's do it one more time. Then we'll get to our mailbag. Use hashtag Cowboys or super chat to get on the show. Round 2 here, the running backs have 52 votes in total, including the super chat elections from there. Wes also putting in a super chat. Joey Hoey has a Peyton Wilson super chat as well. Was it Joey or Hui or Joey Hoey? Because I want to say Joey Hoey. That kind of sounds bad. But that's how I read it. So Wes's $2 super chat is in for Patrick Paul. Joey is spamming for Peyton Wilson in the second. So that's an additional 10 votes for NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson. He continues to extend his lead. Let's update the numbers then. All right. Running backs have 55 votes at this time. Patrick Paul has 37 votes. Malachi Corley has 7 votes. And Peyton Wilson has, update the numbers here. The votes are also really coming in favor of Peyton Wilson. 69 votes. So he has a 14-vote lead at the moment. We will not end the voting or the super chatting until after the upcoming mailbag. So get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or super chat. Then we shall resume the fan-led mock draft with round 2 certainly getting interesting for the Dallas Cowboys. A 3-way race between the running backs, all of them. We'll do a second special election if the backs win. Patrick Paul, kind of, and then Peyton Wilson as well. So get your questions in. It's going to be draft picks, but questions in, hashtag Cowboys or super chat. Now, if you guys like our mailbags, we appreciate that. Show it by liking today's video. I think it's always good to have that little fun back and forth. Whether we agree or disagree on the Dallas Cowboys, we all just want them to win. So if you like the mailbags, like the video right now. A super chat to begin from Mark. Tom, I think we will get rid of Dak Prescott next year. It's very possible. It's also possible Dak might say, I'm going to get rid of you. He might not want to decide to come back for another year. That's a possibility. There's no team control over him at this point. So that is going to be a key sticking point for Dallas and Prescott. Check in again closer to August, and again once week 1 gets going. There's no deal done by then, which I hate waiting that long in the first place, but I digress. Things get a little bit dicey for Dallas pretty quickly. From Ecuador Man, mentioning some center depth options this year. Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia, Tanner Bertolini out of Wisconsin, the Penn State dude, Hunter Norzad. A lot of depth. I think Matt Lee's a decent player. There are centers in this year's class that I do like, and I think you can find somebody on day 2, early day 3. No fourth makes it complicated, but there are ways you can go about finding some additional help at the center spot, which I think we would all agree this team needs. From Tanner, how would you react if Dallas took Michael Penix or Bo Nix in round 1? I'd feel better about Michael Penix than I would Bo Nix. I'd be kind of disappointed at first because I don't think the plan has gone properly. Like I don't think that they've set themselves up to do it the way they should be doing it. But I would then immediately support that guy as the next franchise quarterback of the Cowboys. Like for me, it is I want the Cowboys to win. Sometimes I feel like ownership doesn't feel the same way, but that is how I want to do. That is what I will cheer for, what I will root for, even if I don't agree with the way they're going about doing it. So it'd be a deep exhale and go, okay, he's the guy now. So would you draft a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Daniel M., trade one of your 7ths and a future 2nd to the Panthers for the 101st pick. That's actually an overpay. You should not have to trade a 2nd to get the 1st pick in the 4th round. A future 3rd should be enough to make that happen, and we'll see if they think it's worthwhile based on who's on the board at that time. But I don't think you don't have to move a 2nd, even though you're bad at drafting in the 2nd round. I get that. I think a future 3rd would be enough there. Basically, what you did with the Chiefs last year, you sent one of the first picks in the 6th round for your 5th next season. Vince, why not try putting Tyler Smith at left tackle, Jackson Powers-Johnson left guard, and Frazier at center in the mock draft scenario? I would be surprised if they wanted to try JPJ at guard. I think he can do it, but I would be a little surprised if a team went, well, let's take a center and then another center. I think at that point, they'd probably be more inclined to look for a pure guard or look away from the offensive line altogether. I think if you're going to do it, you're going to do it with a tackle and an interior piece. Now, it is doable, though, and when it comes to the fan-led mock draft, maybe I should have put it as an option instead of Malachi Corley, so that's on me. $2 from Wes. Tom, thoughts on the tackle from South Florida or Isaiah Davis in the 7th? I like Isaiah Davis in that range. I don't know if you're going to be able to get him necessarily in the 7th round, but it's not the worst idea. I think also you could see a double dip along the offensive line. Like I would not be or O-line and backfield. I wouldn't be shocked if that's a route they chose to go. Now, I wonder if you mean the tackle from Central Florida instead of South Florida. Maybe there's someone else you've got in mind. I'm thinking of Tylen Grable out of Central Florida, who's also probably a 7th-round pick. So you cannot have a 7th-round pick be a bad one. We might not love it, but you can have a good one. Today's show is made possible by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. The NFL Draft is all about NFL teams trying to find their next great employee. And if you are hiring for your small business, you know how important that next hire is. It can help make or break the success of your company. Now, LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They have the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. I am also involved in the hiring process here at Chat Sports, and that takes up quite a bit of my time. And that LinkedIn does help make it easier, though, because there are, as it turns out, lots of people want to talk about sports all day. So got to make sure we're getting the right people in here. LinkedIn is consistently and constantly finding ways to help make that process easier for everyone and for us here at Chat Sports. That's why 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL daily. The link is in the comments section and the description of today's show. From Maverick, Taco Charlton is lighting up the UFL. Bring him back? No, we've been down this road. Yeah, the guy is beating up on a bunch of blue-collar workers in the UFL. No, a bunch of, less than practice squad caliber players. No, I'm not bringing back Taco Charlton. Somebody else can do that. Now, specialists, kickers, punters, etc., I think could carve out a nice role from a UFL to NFL pipeline. Now, you should know the game by now, folks. Name a Cowboys legend for me in the comment section. Not someone who's actually a superstar player, but someone who played for the Cowboys and thus counts as a legend. Drop that player name for me in the comments right now. Daniel M's got a rapid-fire 7-round mock. Graham Barton from Duke in the first. Patrick Paul in round 2. Braylon Allen, round 3. McKinley Jackson, round 4. Tommy Eichenberg, round 5. Drew Winton in the 6th round, and a quarterback in the 7th round. Yeah, possible, doable, and I think we'd all feel at least decently about that mock draft. From Leroy Pearson Jr., if there was going to be a surprise move by the Jones, what would you speculate that it would be? So it's got to be a surprise. So it's not like, they took the tackle, Trading down in round 1, but getting future picks and not picks this year. That would be the surprise move that if you were actually rebuilding, that would be the type of move that I think would make a lot of sense for you. From Elite 360, in terms of, this is a super thanks that came in for how do you grade what the Cowboys have done this offseason. You and the team have done well this offseason. I wish you were in charge of the Cowboys. I appreciate that, Elite 360. Appreciate all the super thanks that come in. You'll always get a shout out here on the show. If you are looking for daily Dallas Cowboys videos, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Vince, so the Cowboys trade Dak to the Patriots with the 3rd overall pick. If you were not committed to paying Dak Prescott and you could get that trade from New England, yes, you should do that. I think, the presence of the no-trade clause complicates things because Dak's not dumb. If he's going to go to the Patriots in 2025, he wants to have Marvin Harrison as his, receiver, right? And this hypothetical idea. So I think the no-trade clause is a massive issue because he doesn't want to give assets. He probably knows that. He's probably smart to identify that. He's months away from free agency in theory, right? And the Patriots, they might want the cheap young quarterback because there is the benefit of the mystery box idea. Getting everybody hyped about the new future guy. He's young, he's cheap. What that does for a franchise, I don't think should be undervalued, even though the likelihood is that Dak is a lot better than whatever quarterback the Patriots could get at number 3 overall. From Josh, who do you not want the Cowboys to draft? I don't know. Now, there's a lot of routes I would consider going there, but I would be surprised if there wasn't a good pick for Dallas in round 1. I think they should be able to get somebody talented. They should be able to get an impact player. I think the worst case is Tyler Guyton, which I don't love Guyton, but it's not a bad pick. Something dumb would be like a linebacker or a back, I suppose. Who is your least favorite round 1 Cowboys draft target? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Dan will come back to his trade idea. Put a trade 233 and a future second to the Panthers for 101, and they said no. That is the issue that you will consistently have when it comes to the draft sims. Sometimes it's just they turn off trades for other teams. That's kind of how it tends to work. It's just kind of how it naturally is. They just don't want to make a trade, period. In real life, if you offered that to Carolina, they would say yes. That's a guaranteed top 64 pick. They would say yes. Even with the 1 round less discount, they would take that. But the draft sims are sims. It's not always designed to be perfect because it's a simulation. There has to be weird stuff that occurs at least occasionally. All right, we will put 1 more minute here, maybe 1 more minute once I put the numbers in and announce them. How about that? With where things sit in the fan-led mock draft. Can you get my charger, by the way? Because my phone, my laptop is apparently having all these tabs up is just wreaking hell. Here's where things sit currently with 173 votes in at this time. The running backs left have 38% of the vote. Given the Super Chat impact, that's 68 votes right now for the running backs. Patrick Paul has 51 votes. Malachi Corley has 10 votes. And Peyton Wilson has 80 votes. So we'll put 1 minute here on the clock. Thank you. All the running backs currently trail by about 13 votes at the moment. 13 votes at the moment. Plug in my laptop charger, excuse me. 13 vote difference right now between the best available backs and Peyton Wilson, the linebacker out of NC State. Because remember, you are able to super chat and influence the election. You are able to donate large amounts of money to individual political parties. It's the super PAC option, right? That's what this is. Less than $5 super chat is 2 votes. $5 super chat is 10 votes. $10 is 30. 20 is 75 votes. And 100, we stop the count, end the voting right there, and you get to make the pick. So 30 more seconds left here. An additional 10 votes have come in on the poll side. So I will update those figures right now. It's now 71 compared to 85. So it's still a 14-point lead or vote lead for Peyton Wilson out of NC State. Patrick Paul is a good 30 votes behind, and Malachi Corley he's just here for the ride, basically. So we will end the count here. I will end the pin poll, and Peyton Wilson will be the winner for the Dallas Cowboys in the second round. From a pure talent perspective, I really do love what he brings to Dallas. This is a highly impactful football player. He has all the things that you want. In many ways, I'm like, he's your next, he's your next Sean Lee. And then he went out and tested even better than Sean Lee did, which, seems noteworthy in terms of everything that we've seen happen so far in previous years and drafts, etc. So I like that pick there for the Dallas Cowboys rules. And if you trust the medical is such a significantly large red flag. If it weren't for the medical and the fact that Peyton Wilson is 24 years old, I think he'd be a pretty consensus, or at least close to it, top 30 player in this year's class. Like, that's the level of impactability I think you present yourself to have with this class. That you set yourself up for like that level of play. And I think you want smart football players under Mike Zimmer. I think Peyton Wilson is a very, very smart football player as well. So I am working on getting set up here for the third round of this mock draft sim. It's been a little slow for whatever reason today. Maybe because it's close to the NFL draft and everybody's voting or whatever. Which, you know what, it certainly happens, I suppose, from that perspective. All right, let's see what we've got here. So we're skipping ahead to the third round. Some notable players who are on the board here. So I will make note, Trey Benson is off the board, and so is Blake Corum. So 2 running backs are off the board here. So of note, I'm going to put, all right, fan-led mock draft, round 3. All right. Available options here. I'm going to put one of my favorite prospects. I don't think you guys will pick him, but that's okay. Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon is on the board. I think he's a fantastic piece. I'm going to put best RB left as just one individual option. There's a bunch of them, including Braylon Allen. I know how you guys want to vote. Jonathan Brooks is one of them. I suspect running back will be the likely path that we go. Marshawn or Will Shipley is also on the board there, but I don't want to go too far from that perspective. Okay, I'm going to pivot here again, Chris. I'm going to pivot again. So there are actually multiple defensive tackles that I like on the board here. So I'm going to do best interior defensive lineman left, best running back left. I'm going to put the Yale offensive tackle on the board here as well. So there's an offensive line option. Knowing we'll have to do a second election, that's perfectly fine with me. And I'll put the pass rusher Marshawn Kneeland, who I don't think you guys would pick him, but he's an option as well. So those votes are coming in right now. We'll put a couple minutes here on the clock. It's best defensive tackle left. There are several on the board. Best running back left. There are several on the board. Marshawn Kneeland and Karan Amagaji, the tackle out of Yale. So we'll put those in the voting track right now. Let me plug all these in here. Do this. Sorry, I just got to plug in all the formulas and everything. So my apologies for some delays as I try to put all the stuff in here. No surprise, Chris. The running backs tend to be leading the charge here fairly significantly, which is kind of what I thought it would be. No votes for Marshawn Kneeland. I figured it was all going to be the other names because it's I got so many options for RB and DT. 56 votes in right now. We'll put 2 minutes on the clock here. Again, if you want to ensure it is either the tackle, the defensive tackle, or the running back, you can super chat to sort of rig the election. Less than $5, 2 votes, 2 additional votes. $5, 10 votes. $20, 75 votes. Very good. $100, you can make the pick right now. Now, Brian says it has to be best D-line. So going to have to take a running back in round 2. Remember, we have taken, for this mock draft, we have taken Jackson Powers-Johnson and Peyton Wilson. I did forget to mention, but by the way, the largest combined super chatter today does get to pick a segment on the next live show. So you pick one of the segments we do on Monday's live show. Within reason, it's not going to be like, how can we get Jerry Jones? Like, it's not, and how can you get Jerry Jones fired? That's not how it's going to go. But it'll be part of the live show. So producer Chris is keeping track of all the individual super chats. I believe Douglas is currently the leader with $10 at this point. But most combined super chats today does get to pick a live show segment on Monday. So keep that in mind. And that'll be a feature as we move forward, too, on the show. So we'll have a lot of chances to make that happen here. I'll give this 2 minutes here, max, maybe just a minute, because I am staring down a massive runaway vote here at the running back position, Chris. 85 votes are in at this time. 68% are voting for the running back here in round 2. So now 67%. So pretty big, almost unanimous voting here. We'll either take it to 100 votes total, or a minute left on the clock here while I sip some water. There we go. 67% are voting for the best available running back left. And That is a large amount of the votes. And I'm going to go ahead and call it here. We're a minute in. I'm going to call it in favor of the running backs. So the running backs that are available here, stay tuned for this one. Fan-led mock draft. Round 3. It is Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. Will Shipley out of Clemson. It is Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. And I'm going to put in my guy Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. So those are the best available running backs on the board here for today's live show. Get those votes in right now. Brooks, Shipley, Allen, and Wright are the available votes. We'll give you guys some time here, and we'll do one last call after the Mel Kiper mock draft. We'll get to hear momentarily. I myself, not to influence the election here, I actually love Jalen Wright's game. I would love that pick in the 3rd round. I would assume it's going to be Jonathan Brooks. That'd be the most likely Cowboys pick, I think, though. Like they like Brooks a lot. So get your votes in. Brooks, Shipley, not how you spell Braylon. Braylon with an O. No A on the second one there. So Braylon Allen or Jalen Wright. The early results heavily in favor of Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. He's got 53% of the vote. Will Shipley has a vote. Breaking news, Will Shipley has 1 vote. I'm just glad someone voted for him, frankly. I'm not surprised he's that far down, but that is how it tends to go there. So those are the options in the 3rd round. Let's go to Ecuador Man AOG's Super Chat. And what's the leaderboard look like, Chris? You can do some math here while I answer this. Go ahead and do the math on it. So we took JPJ and linebacker, running back. Who's playing left guard? Bass, TBD. In this scenario, it'd probably be TJ Bass or Brock Hoffman. Those two would probably compete for the left guard role. And you're kicking, you're going to kick Tyus without 2 left tackle. Which this actually kind of gets to kind of one of my issues. You don't have enough picks. Because I do want to get a linebacker at some point. The tackle market didn't fall the way you wanted it to once you passed on Mims in round 1. You got a great player in a center. You need a running back now. I still want to get a receiver. I still need defensive tackle help. I need another edge rusher. That's my issue. There aren't enough picks to fill all of this team's needs. And that is going to continue to be a concern I have for this team as they continue to move forward. Do you have the updated leaderboard here? Douglas has 10 still. He's in first place again. And then Ecuador Man has what, 8? 8? Whoever has the most combined Super Chats today will get to pick a segment within reason, for Monday's live show. You'll send it to me, and we will get the segment happening there. Joey says, I don't see Brooks falling to the 3rd. We didn't think Darnell Washington would be there either. Weird stuff happens come draft day. We are at the mercy of the Sims in terms of the randomness from that perspective. So last call here to get your votes in for the 3rd round of today's fan-led mock draft. We will check in with the votes and the results after the final normal segment of today's live show. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by 8 Sleep. They are bringing the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. Go to 8sleep.com/chatsports to get $200 off, plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Today's show is a Mel Kiper mock draft. He did a 2-round NFL mock draft, which means 2 picks for the Dallas Cowboys that we have a chance to break down and react to. They would be, I think, fairly unsurprising Cowboys picks, by the way. Now, as a reminder, we will be live for the 2024 NFL mock draft. We will have live coverage here for you instant reactions, draft pick breakdowns, grades, UDFAs. Nobody covers it as well as we do. Hit that sub button right now. Now, before we get to the picks here, some notable round 1 picks. Olu Fashanu's off the board. Troy Fatanu's off the board. Graham Barton goes to Pittsburgh. Then Nate Wiggins, Xavier Worthy, which is kind of, I think, a positive outcome for the Cowboys there with the corner and receiver off the board early. In round 1, the pick is Tyler Guyton, the tackle out of Oklahoma, which I wouldn't be shocked if Dallas took this path. It really wouldn't be a huge surprise to me because this is the type of player that they typically like. Athletic, long-armed, etc. Here's the pitch from Mel Kiper about why he put Guyton in round 1. And by the way, Mel was pretty high on Tyler Guyton, by the way. This has to be a tackle, right? Tyron Smith is gone, and Tyler Smith, a first-round pick in 2022, has played extremely well at left guard. Would Dallas move Tyler Smith outside and take the risk he's only an above-average left tackle? If I was the general manager, I'd take Guyton, one of the most physically impressive players in this class. At 6'7", 322, he moves like a tight end. He played mostly right tackle in college, but he could make the move to Dak Prescott's blind side for the Cowboys. Now, I agree, by the way. I do think you would see Guyton play left tackle for the Cowboys. More on this in a moment. But overall, do you want to draft Tyler Guyton in round 1? Why for yes you do, and for no you do not, sound off at the pinned comment of this video. Now, in this scenario, enter the draft. If you had to play a game right now, this is your offensive line. So what you would do is take Tyler Smith and plug him in there at left guard and insert Tyler Guyton into left tackle. Compared to some of the other players, including those on the board, I have some concern. I have a second-round grade on Guyton. There was at least one tackle that I am higher on than Guyton. More on that in a little bit. But Mel is right. This is a player who moves really well for his size. He's almost 6'8", actually. 34-inch arms. Really impressive athletic ability for somebody that size. He's fluid once his technique is correct. It's not always correct. Shows some flash of being able to move people in the ground game, but he doesn't play with great leverage. It comes from being, almost 6'8". His hand usage is kind of a mess a little bit too frequently for my preferences. And he is raw. I don't think he's inexperienced too. He also needs correction with quite a bit of his technique stuff. There are times of you see the flashes, it's not that consistent. I personally would take Amarius Mims. Now, Mims is maybe even more risky, although he's, I think, plenty risky anyway, Guyton is, because he hasn't played as much as Guyton has. You're talking almost a 300-plus snap difference, like half a season, basically. But Mims, I think, is just as big, just as athletic, and I think he's just inexperienced, not so much raw. Jackson Powers-Johnson was also there. Brian Thomas Jr. was there. Darius Robinson was there. Jordan Morgan was there. In this scenario, this might have been a trade-down spot for Dallas. If you could slide down 3 spots and still get Guyton or Mims or JPJ, I think that would have been a really good outcome. Maybe the Bills would have wanted Brian Thomas Jr., hypothetically speaking. Now, hypotheticals, I wouldn't be mad at a Guyton pick, but I wouldn't be overly like, okay, this is fine for Dallas. Sometimes my wife used to be mad at me with sleeping because I snore and she doesn't sleep great. The 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover, though, has helped both of us out. I've slept well, she has not. The 8 Sleep Pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover is added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. There is no better way to improve your day-to-day life than better sleep. And the easy way to do that is with the 8 Sleep Pod 3. Plus, in addition to keeping the perfect temperature all night long, the pod tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. So this link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Start the new year right and invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Over to round 2. And by the way, if JPJ falls out of the top 5, it's probably because of medical stuff. I would have it in trading up. My assets are limited, but he fell to 47 in this mock draft. Malachi Corley's gone. Ruka Rororo and Braden Fisk in a thin defensive tackle class went off the board in the top 55. Jalen Polk is gone at receiver. And in a pick that I don't think would surprise very many people, but actually happens in real life in round 2, Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. Yeah, who would be surprised by that one? Nobody, right? That seems like a very likely Dallas Cowboys pick. They have not hid their affection for the Texas back. So grade the Mel Kiper mock draft for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Go ahead and vote where you think or what grade you would give this mock draft in the comments. Here's what Mel wrote in favor of Brooks as the pick here. This has been a popular pairing based on Dallas's off-season plan at running back. It doesn't have a lead back on its roster. Brooks, who rushed for 1,039 yards and 10 scores, had before tearing an ACL in November, has the tools to be an impact player as a rookie, showed some upside as a pass catcher as well. He's my top-ranked back. Now, I have a second, third round kind of cheater grade here on Jonathan Brooks. He would be my running back 1 if he hadn't torn his ACL. But, and this is my trauma speaking, so I apologize for it. Injured guy in round 2 has not always gone the Cowboys' way, has it? It has not always been a perfect outcome for the Dallas Cowboys. It has a bad track record. But he does have all the traits I think you're basically searching for. You know, he's got the athletic ability. I think his vision is very impressive. He held up pretty well in pass protection. He shows some pass catching ability. The only real red flags I have here are A, the ACL tear. He's not the most powerful runner. Had some drops this season. I'm not sure he really played it at his 216 at the combine, but that's fine. He added some weight. Good there. And he is a one-year wonder. He had, 51 carries in his 2 previous seasons. His workload is light. He has, 239 career carries. That's not a lot. That's also kind of a benefit, though, too, right? Because it means the mileage, the wear and tear on his body is less, and might mean that he doesn't wear down as quickly in the NFL. And assuming he actually is good for training camp, I always get anxious about how likely or true that stuff actually is. I think you feel pretty good about him being your lead back, if not week 1, as the year goes on. Still might need a veteran back. Strangely enough, I would have felt better taking Brooks if I had spent money in free agency and also added somebody like a Zach Moss, because I didn't have to play Brooks week 1 and need him to be such an impact player for me coming off an ACL. I could be more conservative. Others on the board here, and I'll tell you what, Zach Frazier was there, and that would have been my pick. I don't think he gets there. I would love to be wrong because I think he's a really good football player, and what the Cowboys needed center, by the way. So I would have taken Frazier. I also would have loved a Jackson Powers-Johnson, Kisisu Mataya combo. I think he could go top 40, by the way. Javon Bullard is one of your top defensive players left there. Michael Hall Jr. as well. And Ricky Pearsall was also available as a talented impact potential receiver. But I would have gone offensive line, and something tells me in the end the Cowboys will probably choose to pick Brooks in real life anyway. Now, we have Brooks available in the fan-led mock draft, which will be the focal point for the remainder of today's show. I will put 2 minutes, I'll put 1 minute on the clock once we update these votes. Ecuador Man says, watch Wright, Jalen Wright versus Georgia, case closed. He wants Jalen Wright, so we'll give him 5 extra votes there for the Jalen Wright-in vote right there. I actually, by the way, and I'm fine that I think I'm going to be a bit more kind of unique and bold on this. I'm not going to hold it against anyone for not following my pattern there. I'm being different, which is fine. You want to have some differenceness. I actually have Jalen Wright as running back 2 for me. It's Benson, Wright, and Brooks. I don't think most people will feel that way, and that's fine. but I really like Jalen Wright's impact. Like I am a sucker for those athletic playmakers at running back, and that's what I see in Jalen Wright in the most positive sense possible. We will put 30 seconds here because the only way that Jonathan Brooks isn't going to win this election is if a super chat comes in, because he is running away with 80 votes at the moment. Will Shipley has 5 votes at the moment. Braylon Allen has 35 votes. And Jalen Wright, even with the super chat boost, comes in at 31 votes. So it is a runaway at this moment for Jonathan Brooks. We will end the voting here. Congrats to Jonathan Brooks for being the Cowboys' third-round pick. And now we get to jump ahead to the 5th round of this fan-led mock draft. This is going to take a little bit longer for the sim to go because, it's kind of got some catching up to do there. So 5th round, let's see who is on the board for Dallas. Remember, we have a linebacker, a running back, and a center taken at this time. All right, one player on the board I see that I think could make some sense for Dallas is Gabe Hall, the defensive tackle out of Baylor. Okay. It's actually kind of a couple. There's actually a couple defensive tackles I like here. There are actually a lot of DTs I like. Oh boy. All right. We're gonna go best available DT again. There are several of them on the board that I like. I don't really want to double dip at linebacker yet. I will put Christian Jones in there out of Texas. He's available at this time. I don't love the guards or the center options. Those aren't very good. The wide receiver group is not the best. It will stretch to the next round anyway. Other defensive pieces, I'll throw Jarvis Brownlee in there, who I like him as a day 3 pick. The cornerback out of Louisville. And again, there's a lot of good DTs. You know what? I'll put him on here. I will potentially double dip at linebacker. Tommy Eichenberg out of Ohio State is available at this point. So this is the fan-led 5th round options. Lots of defensive tackles I like. So we will leave the door open for picking one of those. And then do a second special election. Christian Jones out of Texas. A little surprised he is available. I think he could go. I think he could go top 100. Really wouldn't shock me all that much. He's there somehow. Jarvis Brownlee at the quarterback out of Louisville. Yeah, it's one of the better defensive pieces left, but I don't love that one that much myself, to be quite honest. Tommy Eichenberg out of Ohio State also available. So we'll let this run for a couple of minutes, maybe 2 minutes, somewhere in that range, as the Masters, by the way, is underway, if those of you who care like I do. As your votes come in, I might just go ahead and pull up the leaderboard here after Bryson DeChambeau, 7 under, Scotty Scheffler's 4 under, Will Zalatoris, so he's 4 under too. Love to see it. Brooks Koepka's 1 over. Tiger Woods is 1 under through 3. Oh, they just flashed it there. Ryan Fox, Fitzpatrick is 3 under. Corey Connors is 2 under. Fascinating early results so far. I have a very large chaos parlay that I did this week, and I'm trying to see how my picks are doing. They're okay. They're okay. We're okay. It's early, but we're okay. No surprise, Daniel wants Gabe Hall. He is among your top defensive tackles are Gabe Hall, Justin Aboyesby, Christian Boyd out of Northern Iowa, and probably Keith Randolph Jr. out of Illinois, who I didn't love nearly as much, but he is available there. All right, we've got 30 seconds left, and it's a heavy vote in favor of the best available defensive tackle. 59% going that route. 31% going Christian Jones, which I would be very intrigued by there. Basically, Jones are your best available DT. 64, 65, soon to be 69, I'm sure, votes in there on that front. So I'll let it go for 20 more seconds. It's type 1 for the best available DT. Type 2 for Christian Jones, the tackle out of Texas. Type 3 for Jarvis Brownlee, cornerback out of Louisville. Or 4 for Tommy Eichenberg, linebacker out of Ohio State. We are at the 2-minute mark. 60% are going defensive tackle. I have seen enough. I am stopping the count, and we will do the fan-led round 5 options here. Justin Aboijbe out of Bama. That one's for you, producer Chris. Someone I know that you are quite a big fan of since you went to Alabama. You can give the sales pitch here in a minute if you want. But I think we have a tie, by the way, for the most combined Super Chats. I think Ecuador Man is now at 10. Okay, then we got Gabe Hall out of Baylor. I should probably just I don't need to put DT in there. It's all DTs, but I'll do it anyway. That makes more sense in case people tuning in don't know what's going on. And then it was Keith Randolph out of Illinois. All right. Poll is running. A couple minutes here to vote. Again, this is the Super Chat menu. Less than $5, 2 additional votes. Might have given somebody 5, but it was in a losing effort, so it ends up being the same, I suppose, there. $5, 10 additional votes. $10, 30 additional votes. 20 is 75, and 100, you make the pick then and there. We will stop the count, and you will win immediately. I will also make note that the most combined Super Chats today does get to pick a segment on Monday's live show. Right now, that is a tie between Douglas Shepard and Ecuador Man AOG. So you guys are tied at $10. So 15, you could almost make the pick now, and you would set yourself up to pick the segment on an upcoming live, or Monday's live show, I should say, on the Cowboys Report, within reason. So let me get my formula in here for Aboijbe. Boyd. Hall. Ooh, this is a tight race, Chris. Justin Aboijbe versus Gabe Hall. There might not have even been a point to putting anybody else in the voting. It is a two-man race between Aboijbe and Gabe Hall at the moment. A very tight race. 51% versus 44% at the moment. So let's update the numbers here. No Super Chats yet, but a Super Chat could significantly swing things right now. It's 54%, with Aboijbe extending his lead. Gabe Hall now dropping back to only 40%. So we're talking this is just a couple of votes, though. It's a small sample size difference at the moment. We will put 2 minutes on the timer here. Remember to vote in the comments as well. I know Daniel wants Gabe Hall real bad. Madman wants Gabe Hall. Robert's going for Justin Aboijbe. Joey wants Christian Boyd. It's a fun player. Help stop your run. I think all those guys would help stop your run, by the way. Very different play styles, too. Ecuador Man says Gabe is too small for his taste. So I assume that means it is a vote in favor of Justin Aboijbe. Gabe is small. He's just a little light. But Aboijbe isn't that much bigger. Let me do this. Let me read off the sizes here for these guys. Gabe Hall is 6'6", 294, 34.5-inch arms. Christian Boyd is 6'2" 3/8 inches. 329, but sub 32-inch arms. Justin Aboyshby is 6'4 and 3/4, 297 or 3/8, 297, 33 and 3/8 arms. So he's only a couple pounds heavier, but he's also about 3 inches shorter. So it's more compacted lead distributed there. Gabe Hall 6'6", by the way, M. And then Keith Randolph is 6'3.5", 296. That's the other Illinois defensive tackle. So I assume that Ecuadorian is now in the lead, by the way, for next segment. He's got a $2 lead at $12 total for the segment next week. I assume that he wants it to be Justin Aboyshby. Clarify if not there, Ecuador man. Let's put a minute here or so left to go on the clock, and I can lay out the differences in the amounts that have come in so far. Aboyshby has 42 votes at the moment. That includes the $2 Super Chat bonus vote, by the way. Gabe Hall, meanwhile, is at 27. So we are talking a double-digit vote lead right now for Justin Aboyshby out of Alabama. Christian Boyd is not really in the running. Nobody voted for Keith Randolph. Nobody has voted for him. A few more minutes left here on the timer. Maybe once we get to 85 votes, we'll call it there. But Aboyshby has a solidly sized lead over Gabe Hall here. As Madman says, Keith is trash. He was the one I liked least on the list, but someone had to be fourth. We weren't going to just leave a spot empty in the end. All right, I think we have enough votes here. Producer Chris, how about as the Alabama fan here, how about you break down what Justin Aboyshby offers while I get set up for the 6th round pick for Dallas?
Yeah, I think Justin Aboyshby was really underrated at Bama. He got hurt in 2022. He's got a neck injury. They ended his season really, really early. Only 4 games played there. But man, in 2021, he didn't have a lot of pressures and stuff. But there were a lot of guys on that defensive line for Alabama, so we didn't get a ton of opportunity. But man, in 2023, he was everything that you wanted him to be the entire time that he was at Alabama. 11.5 TFLs, 7 sacks, 30 pressures. And he's a guy that, there's a lot of guys in this draft who, their names and their numbers and everything pop off the board. He's got just about as good of numbers as a lot of guys, a lot of DTs in this draft. But because he got hurt and he didn't play a lot early on, it just didn't really fall for him. I think he's a real sleeper in this draft. And to me, he seems like a Dallas Cowboy.
I like it. I will make note, Wes just had a $5 super chat come in. It wouldn't have changed the results. So, Wes, if you want to comment somebody else for this next round, we will still count it from that perspective. As I get set up here, I'm going to put Trey Taylor, the Air Force safety, who's a really good athlete there. I'm going to put, let's see what else we got here. Because I know, I don't know if I want to do that because you guys like him too much. Let's see what we got here. I'm not going to double dip at running back yet. I don't love the receivers at this place, but Jordan Whittington is an option. Out of Texas. Let's see what else we got. We've got any offensive linemen I like here. Not really. That's kind of super disappointing, actually. I wish there was a good offensive lineman there. I'll be honest here. I don't like the day 3 draft class. I don't think it's particularly good. I think it is a very thin crop of players overall, which that's how things do tend to go. I think the NIL impact has been fairly significant from that perspective. All right. I think, wow, he should not be here. Love this option. Gabriel Murphy, edge out of UCLA, very much stands out as a great pick for Dallas here. And then, not going to double dip at linebacker here. I'll put the Auburn corner, Nehemiah Pritchett, as the other available option. Welcome into the back end of the 6th round where, frankly, I just don't love the talent once you get outside the top 200-ish picks. I think it gets thin a little bit quicker than I would prefer. So we'll put 2 more minutes here on the clock. Wes, if you want to redirect your pick, feel free. Ecuador Man is still in the lead with $12. Wes, though, this is for the MVP pick segment on next Monday's live show. Wes is in 3rd, I believe, at this time. Madman does not like the mock so far. Can't blame me. I guess actually you can blame me because I'm picking the 4 options, but beyond that, it's a full-on vote there. Trey Taylor, Jordan Whittington, Gabriel Murphy, and Nehemiah Pritchett. I would vote for Murphy myself. I will say, using the way this board is broken down, and you have another pick coming up at 233, you're at 216 right now, there is an outside chance that Murphy gets to you in the 7th. I don't see I would be very surprised if Whittington got to you in the 7th. So maybe that impacts your outcomes there. So far in this mock draft, as a reminder, it took Jackson Powers Johnson in the 1st round. It took Peyton Wilson in the 2nd round. Jonathan Brooks in the 3rd. Justin Aboybe was the pick in the 5th round. So I'm inputting the formulas and the odds and everything right now to figure out what the percentages are here. Let's see, 0 there. Boyd, that's not Boyd, that's Whittington, who I can't say I'm surprised a bunch of you guys like. That's not that surprising. Murphy is in a narrow, it's a tight Murphy-Whittington race all the way through on today's show. Pritchett's got some good votes too, though. Chris, this might be a little bit of a more narrow race than what we've seen previously. There's always been kind of some big outcomes there. Z said he voted for the corner, but happy with a wide receiver. Let's put 1.5 minutes, give or take, here on the board. It's Trey Taylor, the safety out of Air Force, who is, I think, a pretty impactful athlete and offers you the special teams upside stuff. Plus, you're doing it for the troops. Jordan Whittington of Texas, who he actually didn't play that much special teams. I almost wonder if you try him as a running back. I kind of don't hate that path. I think that could actually work out kind of decently for you. I would go with Gabriel Murphy myself. I have a fringe top 100 grade on him. My player comp is he was really good last year for UCLA. Really good athlete too. Harold Landry dressed as a T-Rex for Halloween because he's got 30.5-inch arms. It's just really small arm length and will take him off the board for many teams, potentially including Dallas. But the production is and the athletic ability is awesome. It's just, do you trust the arm length size there? And then Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback, because I think you need some depth there. It is 39%, 34% right now. So I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock starting right now. 1 minute for Super Chats to come in. If they do not, we will abide by the results of the poll. Wes is commenting he wants to go with Jordan Whittington. So we will push that $5 Super Chat that came in after the buzzer of the last one in favor of Jordan Whittington. And that might just be enough to help swing this voting in his favor. So allow me to reset because I want to make sure we get that Super Chat to be properly accounted for so we know what the standings are here once we get going. Trey Taylor is at 8 votes. Jordan Whittington is at 33 votes with the Super Chat bonus. Yeah. Gabriel Murphy is at 25 votes with the Super Chat bonus. Elijah Pritchett is at 11. So 1 minute, as of right now, Gabriel Murphy trails Jordan Whittington 33 to 26 votes. And Jordan Whittington now, by the way, has just taken the outright lead in the voting as well, even in now they're tied. But the actual voting here is 36-26 from a percentages standpoint. That is where we currently sit. So it's a 10 vote, I should say, Jordan Whittington lead over Gabriel Murphy. So 20 seconds for a super chat at the buzzer here, or else Dallas will be picking the Texas wide receiver, Jordan Whittington, over Gabriel Murphy. So we got 10 seconds here with a literal tie between Whittington and Murphy, and the tie will be broken by Wes's $5 super chat. Jordan Whittington out of Texas is the 6th round pick for the Dallas Cowboys. And now we get to round 7, and we wait and see, okay, does Gabriel Murphy fall down to us to begin the 7th round? And I have good news. Gabriel Murphy is available to begin the 7th round. So Murphy got one extra vote, but the super chat still balanced it out. So Gabriel Murphy is available in the 7th round here. I think he's going to win, but I will still put in some other options. Maybe you want to double dip at running back. I think Kamani Vidal out of Troy, especially if you want some pass protection help, would be a very quality option for you. Let's see what else we got here. Got Gabriel Murphy in there. Ooh, Frank Crum, the offensive tackle out of Wyoming. Good athlete. Always a good gamble on from that perspective. God, I kind of want to troll so bad and put the kicker in there, but you guys don't need a kicker anymore. It's great. It's incredible. And we'll put the top linebacker on the board still, Omar Spates out of LSU. So we'll put some time here on the clock. Nothing will ever top the Cade York fan-led mock draft, where it was like 5 different people all voting for and against Cade York with super chats. It was absolutely chaotic. One of the more fun things I've seen here on the show. As your votes come in, I'll get this set up here momentarily. As a reminder, most combined super chats today does get to pick a segment for a future live show, which is, it's still $12 lead from Ecuador Man, right? So most combined supers, you'll pick one of our segments for Monday's live show within reason. It's not going to be, how the Cowboys can get Jerry Jones to give ownership. It's just not on the cards, unfortunately. It's not really doable because it's just not going to happen. It has to be realistic and within reason, I suppose, there. All right. So, round 7. I might not even need to plug in the votes here, Chris. It's a 70% vote for Gabriel Murphy right now. So I am going to let it go for a minute. If super chats come in to drastically impact outcomes here or whatever, then we will adjust as needed. But it is a runaway vote for Gabriel Murphy with the Cowboys' first of 2 7th-round picks. Frank Crum is in second. We'll see if he gets there. 1M. We'll see if he gets there. I wouldn't be shocked if he got to the other 7th-round pick. He tested really well, and that's like intriguing upside athletically. Luis says draft a kicker. It's funny. I'll go for a few more minutes here, Chris, but this just seems like a runaway vote. This is going to go to Gabriel Murphy. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and call it. We have 50-plus votes. We've gone for a minute here. 70% are going with Gabriel Murphy. Why don't you put him on the player rank reveal and run through the picks made so far? Because that'll help us recap what's been going on there. So Gabriel Murphy here is the pick in the 7th round. And now we get set up for the final pick of this Dallas Cowboys fan-led mock draft. Who is available? Let's find out. So first off, Kamani Vidal is still there out of Troy. Did Frank Crum get to us? Yes, he did. Frank Crum is also on the board, and he looks like, you look up, Wyoming offensive tackle, that's what he looks like. We have a receiver. Thought about Bub Means here. I think they could take Rasheen Ali at this point, but I'm going to put, we'll see. Let's review the election here. We'll go back to this of best running back, because there are several backs left that I like here. A lot of linebackers left if you want to double dip at linebacker. And, beyond that, we'll add one more here for best DB left, since we didn't get a defensive back this year. So one more 7th rounder. Here's what's happened so far as your votes come in. Jackson Powers Johnson in round 1. I'm not sure there's a space between IOL and Oregon, by the way, there, Chris. Peyton Wilson in round 2. Jonathan Brooks in round 3 out of Texas. Then Justin Aboyesby in the 5th round, the defensive lineman. Jordan Whittington, the receiver, from Texas. And Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. So those are the 6 picks at this time. So lots of options there from the perspective of what's on the board. Early runaway results here, by the way. Frank Crum, 71% of the votes. Kind of thinking when it's all said and done, this is going to be a Frank Crum mock draft pick here. That's a big percentage. Early voting, but it is a large percentage there. We'll put a minute on the clock here. As a reminder, 2 things. This is the Super Chat menu. So less than $5, 2 additional votes. $5, 10 votes. $10, 30 votes. $20, 75 votes. $100, you make the pick. Of note, most combined Super Chats today gets to pick a segment for Monday's live show within reason. Don't get us in trouble, etc. Make it realistic and not like something insanely crazy. So right now it's a $12 Super Chat lead for Ecuador Man, AOG. He is in the lead, so $13 would surpass him just like that. I'll put another 30 seconds here on the clock. Then we'll just recap the picks, Chris, and we'll sign off and give you guys a chance to grade it as well. But 71% are voting for Frank Crum, the offensive tackle out of Wyoming. So that is a pretty runaway vote tally, isn't it, folks? That is not a very close race at all. It is going to be a win for Mr. Frank Crum in the 7th round. I'm going to unpin the message here and do... I have to unpin then delete. Excuse me. Largest combined Super Chat equals pick segment for Monday. Leader is 12. So last call on that front. Anyone beats out a $12 Super Chat, and you get to pick a segment on Monday's live Cowboys Report. So that is a $12 Super Chat is all it takes to take the lead from that perspective. So let's recap the entirety here from round 1 to round 7 of the fan-led mock draft. Jackson Powers Johnson in round 1 out of Oregon. Peyton Wilson, NC State linebacker, round 2. Jonathan Brooks does fall to the 3rd round out of Texas. Justin Aboyesby, the defensive tackle, out of Alabama in the 5th round. Jordan Whittington, 6th round out of Texas. I love the value pick there for Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. And Frank Crum, who tested very well at the NFL Combine this year, is the pick out of Wyoming. Appreciate everyone who voted and helped rig the election, etc. for today's fan-led mock draft. I want you guys to grade it. A, B, C, D, or F. I'll put 30 more seconds here on the clock before we sign off and call it here for the fan-led mock draft and today's live show, and the chance to pick the segment for Monday's live show. Right now, Ecuador Man 12, or Ecuador Man Energy with 12, is the winner on that front. So, Ecuador Man, 2 things. Probably just email me. Oh, Lord Buddy Bear. Oh, no. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Lord Buddy Bear, who's a Raiders fan, a $20 super chat. I like having a Raider fan pick your segment. So we'll reset the timer here. We'll put it on for a minute or so. I am hesitant to have a Raider fan pick what the Monday live segment is. So I think it would be great if somebody could take down Lord Buddy Bear. Reminder, it's combined super chats. So 20 total combined is the number to beat. These are the rules I set. So I kind of can't go back on them and say Raider fans exclude that. That's not very fair. This is an all-inclusive show. So we need somebody here to surpass Lord Buddy Bear and not have him pick the segment, because that could go a lot of bad. I did say within reason. So it's not going to be, can we trade all the good Cowboys players to the Raiders? That's not going to be the segment. I promise you on that front. We got about a minute here.
I'll give you the rundown where we're at right now.
Ecuador Man's got 5. He's at 17, right?
Brings him up to 17.
He's at 17 now with the 5.
Yep. He's 3 away.
3 away. All right. Anxious on that front.
So Wes is at $9 right now.
Okay.
I'm going to give like the top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
AOG is at 17. Douglas is at 10. Lord Buddy Bear's at 20.
Okay. So he's 3 away. Ties go to the Cowboys report. Go to the Cowboys, man. How about that? I'll reset for another 30 seconds to a minute here. As of right now, Lord Buddy Bear is in the lead. As Ecuador Man takes it back. He's got 5 more. Okay. 5 seconds, and Ecuador Man's gonna win. I might cut that one off early. Ecuador Man, what would you like the live segment to be, my friend? You can throw your ideas or email me, tom@chatsports.com. Or if you're on Twitter, I don't know if you have a Twitter or not. At @whatgoingdowney, obviously. Ecuador Man coming through in the clutch as the timer actually has run out of officially. Call that the Raider scare from Lord. Uh-oh, shit! See, now I don't know what to do here. Because Lord Buddy Bear's got a 20. And I don't like that. And now I don't know what to do, because I didn't think we'd have a Raiders fan come flying in here. And I also announced it as Ecuador Man 1, and as then Buddy Bear put in his 20, which scares me. Ecuador Man wants a negative Dak piece. I can't say I'm surprised on that one. All right, how about this, Lord Buddy Bear? Can I buy you out with the beer bong? And we'll go with Ecuador Man. Since I did say it was over and it beat the buzzer, technically speaking, but can I buy you out, Buddy Bear, with a beer bong? I'll make it a jungle bong where we tap out and top it off, I should say, with some alcohol there. Ecuador Man says Cowboys fans only. Can I buy you out, Buddy Bear, with the beer bong? It's a fair trade.
Normally, what the beer bongs are normally 50, so it's 40 for a beer bong in this. A jungle bong at that.
So Lord Buddy Bear has said, do trade rumors on Micah Parsons. So Buddy Bear wasn't here for that. That actually is tomorrow's video. So everybody wins, right? Buddy Bear gets the Micah Parsons trade rumors video tomorrow, and then Ecuador Man gets the negative Dak piece. I'm not sure how I'll frame that. We'll make it about Dak in some capacity. I don't like taking an intentional negative or positive approach. We can look at the pros of moving on from Prescott and the negative contract angle as well. I think that's very doable, etc. from that perspective. So I think that's fair, and I think we should do the beer bong as well, Chris. Let's go ahead and do that just to keep everybody as happier as possible from that perspective. Ecuador Man does not like Dak. I do know that. So we'll set it up properly. No fanboying, but we'll set it up properly for you. I could do Dak replacements in 2025 too. I could try that one out for you. There's at least part of it too. But all right, beer bong time. We're good. Technically for Lord Buddy Bear and Ecuador Man for the chaotic back and forth there. Lord Buddy Bear gets his Micah Parsons trade rumors video tomorrow, and Ecuador Man gets his negative Dak video, he called it, on Monday's live show. I'll figure out how to approach that properly, but maybe I'll frame it as to how it makes like the positives of Dak, of moving on from Dak from that perspective. So, Lord Buddy Bear, Ecuador Man, and more. Bottoms up. Here we go. Woo! Nice and cold. Nice and cold. We'll sign off here for today's live show. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. Remember to subscribe for more free Cowboys videos right here on the channel.